Time is a quite important factor for creating a video game. But what happens when life becomes quite busy and you don't have enough time for creating your game? Well, in this part of the interview, Mike shares his experience of how he managed to create and release his game, even when his life in that moment was quite busy. He had a full-time job, his family, where his wife was working also full-time, and two kids. So yeah, you can imagine that it was quite busy for him during that time. And even with all this, he was still able to release his game. So I hope you liked this video. Please drop in the comment section below if you have any experience or any other tips of how you manage to make time for working on your game. I will be quite interested to see your comments, and I hope you like this video. Nice. So you also, on the family side, you had also that support that was important for you.
Yeah, so a lot of people I think will say that, and I will say I'm on the fence. So it's like that comes out like you feel like it's like a speech, like you won an award. You say I'd like to thank my support, my family, why everyone was there for me every step of the way. It was a fight, it was a battle. She was definitely there for me. That's true,
Nice.
but it wasn't 100%. And the reason it wasn't like, with the kids, it's so hard because how many nights am I going to try and just go downstairs and get on the computer and say, I'm going to do game dev, and you take care of both kids. But then, one of them's getting a tooth, or there's something going through something, or they're sick and they're waking up at 3 a.m. And how many times can I expect her to do that? I'm going to pay the price tomorrow. And I would, because it would be like, she can't sleep. She has to take a nap. Now I have to do this, but I have my day job, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
So then I have to put it off till after the day job. And now it's like dinner, then it's bath, then it's bed. So if eventually it'll just cause a collapse. So there's give and take. And of that, I'll say there were times where like there was the pivotal points where it's like, this is time sensitive on Twitter, there's something going on, and someone's like, show us what you're working on and we'll put it in this or put it in that, or and I had to do it, and I would like kind of have to fight. It was the worst time to do it, but I would fight for it. I would get it. It was very give and take. So definitely thank you. She did a great job. It was awesome, and she was supportive overall, a net support. But I guess when people hear it, because when I heard it, it was always like, oh, my wife or my girlfriend, it's going to be like full support mode, where it's like, you do you, hun, and you're just going to do nothing but game dev the whole time.
No,
and that isn't what happened to me.
Side. It's not so real, right?
Yeah, it might be for others. Like it just wasn't for me. And without kids, I'll say it probably could be, because you could cut out, say, okay, 3 hours a night, you get that every day. Don't worry about spending time with me. We won't watch our shows. We're good. Not that that's all that happens. I think it wasn't. But when it's with the kids, it's so much. She has a full-time job too, and that's the other thing. I mean, there's people with kids that their husband or wife doesn't work full-time, but both full-time with kids.
Yeah, that's challenging. Can imagine.
Yeah, it's challenging, and I would have never thought it could happen. For some reason, I think that lack of time causes some sense of urgency where it just works out. I don't know how I did that. I still don't. And it's like, because I don't have the time, and I keep saying I don't, but I did somehow. And I think it's just, you make the time, and the efficiency of that time becomes vital. There is nothing else you're doing but exactly what you need to do. And when you run into problems, you don't always cut corners, but I think that's important to know when to, and it's another topic for another day. But knowing when to cut the corners and stuff like that.
That's a really different topic. Yeah, that's also another topic to talk. I can. Yeah, that was another question. That how you managed to continue working on your game, all the marketing, all the technical side, programming it, and also having your family. So it was taking advantage of every time that you had free.
Pretty much. Yeah, and at night it was I would stay up late, and I borrowed it from sleep. That was it. And that's kind of an obvious answer. It's like I had to wake up no matter what. If a kid's up, I'm up. Like, and if not, I'll hear them. So there's nothing I can do. So I would say I'm gonna go to sleep at 11, and then it would be 2 hours, it would be 1, and I'm like, oh no, what am I gonna do? And then the panic sets in. Anxiety is a whole other topic, but there was a lot of anxiety. It was a lot of like, I can't sleep because I'm seeing numbers, I'm seeing code, I'm seeing all this in my head, and it's tough to get to sleep, and stuff to stay asleep. So yeah, I would lack sleep. It roll over into the next day, and 3 or 4 days would be lack of sleep, and then all of a sudden I'd have this day where like I just have to collapse into sleep somehow. And that became its own complicated topic. But the arrangements I had were kind of broken sometimes. It'd be like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep early tonight. And that way, don't worry, I'll get up with my daughter if she gets up. And I didn't. I failed. I broke that. But I took ownership of it because when she did wake up, I would still get up with her. It wasn't that I would just lie and then say, oh, can you do it now? Like I still did it, but I punished myself. So a lot of it was nights and taking that time at night to make it work. There really is no other time because, and weekends are, I remember when weekends were fun. They are, but it's like, it used to be this relief of your job's done for the week if you're full-time. Not everybody is, but I was full-time. So, okay, now it's the weekend. There's no it's the transition is, okay, the kids are home all week because they go to daycare. I should mention that when I keep saying home or not home. We do have them in daycare. It's extremely expensive, which makes it that we have to work even more. Not complaining. It's just that's the cycle of things if you want two full-time parents. So they're home all weekend. So it's like, you love them, we play, but it's like you run out of things to do after a while and you're just like, what are we going to do now? So the other thing I did was I constantly, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I would play. I talked about this in that blog article for the Gamedev TV. You talk about, I was like, in my head, I'm like, I'm playing with my son, and I'm always in there. Like, I don't want to be that father who's like, just like play like fake plays. Like, oh, that's nice. I want to be in the moment. Like, okay, I'm a warrior here. This is my sword and shield. We're fighting with these, or superheroes. Like, I'm part of it, or there's a little storyline going on. So I try and do that. And with the game dev, I found sometimes it was hard because sometimes kids, I think they're okay with whatever you're doing, right? Like they're just like, oh, they're playing with me. That's great. I don't know if my dad ever knew what I was doing. It was like, so in my mind, I was trying to half remember how we're playing here. But in my mind, I'm just like, okay, cool. We're going to have a level up system. I'm going to build this later. There's going to be stats and, and then that's what I do. At work, I focus, but sometimes, everybody has that moment where you're just kind of drifting off. Well, instead of drifting off and thinking about a beach, I just replace that with what's the next thing my game's going to have.
Some ideas that pop up in that moment that, okay, maybe I can add this to my game, this feature, or maybe this is not going to work.
That's right. And I'm sure you've had it too. I'm sure you're eating like or thinking and, sometimes I want to run away. Like if I'm eating dinner, I just want to run downstairs and go do it. But, I wasn't able to. And I'm like, what was I doing in college, after college? I'm like, I had time, I had it, but I couldn't harness that power until I didn't have it. And now all of a sudden I harnessed it. So still a very weird thing. But anyway, so I would say that's kind of how I managed it. Nights and thinking in my head while I was doing everything else during the day, and then sitting down and making sure I'm executing exactly what I've already planned in my mind that night.
Nice. And all the hard work paid off at the beginning, at the end. So
at the end it did. And I like, everybody's an aspiring game dev. That's the thing. And this isn't my original thought. I've heard this too, that like, just...
Thanks a lot for watching this video. Don't forget to drop a comment in the section below if you have any other experience or any other tips of how to make time for creating your game. Thanks, and until the next time.